right? Shana Tova, Boker Tov, everyone. Happy New Year. We're delighted to see you this morning to continue our Rosh Hashanah services. We're happy that you're here. Would you take a moment to silence your cell phones? I know you think yours is already on vibrate, but if you will take just a moment to ensure that, so that we can, and if you have to take a phone call, please exit through the back 2 exits into the lobby. And while you're turning off your cell phone, also take a note that there's 2 exits in the back that exit out into the lobby and Sunset Boulevard. There are also 2 exits on either side of the bima, the stage, to my left and to my right. In case of an emergency of any sort, we ask you to follow the instructions of our security team, who will be here, and to exit immediately. Bathrooms are in the lobby and also on the 2nd floor if there's a line. We wouldn't want you to have to wait too long. And at 10:30, those of us that are joining the family service will make our way upstairs to the family service room, which is this year on the 2nd floor, We are thrilled to have you here for these holy days, joining Cantor Linsky and Rabbi Chaiken and I, and we look forward to hearing you sing along with all of the various kinds of music, some traditional, some contemporary, some new, and we hope and pray that you will feel a sense of meaning, hope, and renewal during these high holy days.
Begin on page 110. How beautiful are your tents, Montover.
Israel,
praising God for the souls that bring us breath each day, that enliven us. Elohai Neshama. Page 135, we continue in our Psalms of Praise. Whether or not you know a lot of Hebrew or whether you need to brush up. Hallelujah, we praise, we give thanks. Hallelujah. Page 135.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. blessings has stirred you awake and awakened your heart and your soul a bit. And this time, I'd like to invite to the Bima, Hope Faust and Matt Epstein, and to the front row, Michael Berlin and Murray Blank. As you know, there are people that were participating over the course of the services, and we'll call you in small groups to sit in the front row, so you'll be closer to the Bima. We're turning now in our Machzorim. Hope and Matt, if you'll just join us up on the Bima. We're turning now in our Machzorim to page 136. The shofar service has 3 parts. It begins with Malchiot, Zichronot, and then Shofarot. The first section of the shofar service really deals with the idea of sovereignty, of kingship, that God is over everything and over all of us. And we blast the shofar in this section to herald that moment of being in the Holy Divine One's presence. So let us join together in prayer responsively on page 136. Do you want to get your shofars? We pray responsibly. Blessed are we, blessed our gathering as we open our hearts to the voice of the shofar.
Happy are we who hear its call to return, the sacred trumpet of Shuvah.
Blessed are we, held close by an ancient sound that echoes Lador Vador from generation to generation.
Happy are we, rising to the joyful cry of a new year.
Blessed are we who hears in these blasts of the sounds the voice of community.
Happy are we who know its embrace, its seasons of celebration, its quest for connection and purpose.
Holy is this gift of community, blessed this act of belonging. We rise together, page 137. Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel. Together, the divine abounds everywhere, that dwells in everything. Its spaces are infinite, its sources subdues all. The many are as one. Tekiah, Shvarim Trua, Tekiah. Blessed is the soul-reaching sound of the shofar. It proclaims the purpose of this day. Blessed is community, source of joy, solace, and strength to every living soul. We ask now for Michael Berlin and Murray, if he's here, to open our ark as we remain standing for the Borachuk. Page 142. Please be seated. We join together on page 142. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvarei choshen, oseh shalom uvarei et hakol, or olam ba'otzer chaim, orot be'ovel amar v'hiyu. Together, source of blessing, our eternal God, your power fills the cosmos, shaping light, creating darkness, making peace and fashioning all things. Infinite light is preserved in life's treasure house. Lights from the darkness, said God, and it was so. Page 144. In love, you bring light to the earth and its creatures. Your goodness renews creation each day. Infinite and varied and rich are your works, divine artist, all of them wrought with wisdom. The whole earth is teeming with life, awestruck by the universe, work of your hands. Let all life bless you, praise you, and celebrate the beauty of your light. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMe'arot. Our praise to you, Adonai, creator of light, cosmic lights. A poem by our friend Alton Solovey that's really a prayer. Torah is gravity, binding us to our ancestors, holding us near to our God, anchoring us with wisdom and understanding. Torah is gravity, tying our lives to our history and our destiny. Mitzvot are light, illuminating our path, brightening our days, showing us the way to holiness and service, leading us to heal the world. Mitzvot are light, shining around us with beauty. Torah is gravity. May your feet never falter. Mitzvot are light. May your hands shine with grace. Gravity and light surround us. Torah and mitzvot enliven us. Blessed are God's gifts. We take all of those gifts of Torah, of mitzvot, of our traditions and our culture, and we weave them into the fabric that becomes our Jewish faith. There's no greater affirmation of that faith and that belief in the oneness, the God that built and created and wove the universe into the very being, and who presented our people with the Torah, with laws and teachings and ethics and values and ideals. And as we prepare to recite the Shema together, that affirmation of our faith, we think about all that binds us and ties us as a people who once stood at Sinai together, and to relive that moment each and every day through these holy words. We rise together, turning to page 150, as we sing the Shema. Hafta, page 152 together.
Ani Adonai Elohechem.
163 at the bottom of the page. Let's pray responsibly. Remember the stories of slavery.
And you will never stop working for freedom.
Remember their fear at the edge of the sea.
And self-doubt will never defeat you.
Remember when desperation turned to celebration.
And you will never let go of hope.
Remember the words of the Baal Shem Tov.
Forgetfulness leads to exile.
Remembrance is the secret of redemption. And we sing that song of redemption in the hopes that just as God once redeemed our ancestors at the shores of the Yam Suf of the Red Sea, so too, in this new year, we will receive a similar redemption. Mi chamocha, we sing together. Mi chamocha, mi chamocha. Those that would like to join our family service and upstairs on the second floor to exit the sanctuary, and we will return a little bit later in the service.
For the rest of us, I'd like to invite the next group of service participants to the front row. Jake Gibsman, Steve Hochstein, Mike Silverman, Iris Levine, and Hope and Matt, our shofar, our ballet tekiah, our shofar blowers could also come back to the front row, as well as Jess Winfield and Marilyn Eger. We continue now in our service on page 166, and we rise together for the Amidah, a chance to stand before our Creator and the Creator of the world on this birthday of the world, and offer our thanks and our praise.
Adonai,
הגדול, הגיבור הנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים, וקונה המון, וזוכר עשה אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו מעט. Please be seated. Continue on page 174. In just a moment, Cantor Linsky will chant for us Netana Tokef, one of the traditional prayers of this day that is meant to remind us of the awe of the grandeur, perhaps a little bit even of the fear of the unknown of what the new year will bring. Netana Tokef, Kedushat Hayom. We are to give awe to that power of this holy day, this holy chance for a new beginning. Page 174. So let these words of sanctity ascend to you, our God, our eternal one, ruling in all space and time.
Shame.
Let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise to your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love, your reign is a reign of truth. In truth you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. Page 176. Shofar gadol yitaka, v'kol dmama daka yishama. Together in English. And so a great shofar will cry, Tkiyah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a world of fear and trembling will say, behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes even they are not blameless. All who come into the world shall pass before you, like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock, when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments. On page 178, we join together the Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, Glory Together, let's pray in English. On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who will exalt? On page 180, we continue. But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. Together, you are everything that we praise you for. Slow to anger, quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them. You accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. Page 182. We who are mortal, our origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread, like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by. We are dust on the wind, or a dream that flies away, together. But for you, ever-living sovereign, time has no limits. Your presence, unbounded by days and years, is everywhere. A glorious mystery none can decipher. Your name is worthy of you, and you are worthy of your name. And our name you have linked with yours. We're about to pray Kedusha, prayer for holiness. And part of that holiness of the divine, I think, has to do with the mystery. I don't know about you, but sometimes I struggle with the language of kingship on this day. I struggle with the idea that we don't know why sometimes some people live a long time and some people don't. And I think that's what this prayer that we've just come through, the Rosh Hashanah, is reminding us. That there is Kedusha, that there is holiness in our lives, and that we can find ways to be grateful for it, especially as we have the privilege of beginning this new year together. It's now my honor to invite Jacob Gibson, Steve Hochstein, Mike Silverman, and Iris Levine to open our ark for Kedusha, and I invite the entire congregation to rise as we're able. You may be seated. We turn to page 187. On page 187, let's pray responsively. Holy is the dignity that is human, sacred the mystery we call divine. Holy is the sacrifice made for those we love, precious the pains they take for us. Sublime the glory of the heavens above us, sacred the beauty that glows within us. Noble is the mind in search of meaning, the heart is happy that finds its way. Awesome is the power that rules our being, holy the kinship that makes us one. On page 196, we arrive at one of the prayers that we insert in these holy days. That is a blessing and a prayer that goodness and blessing will come for us in the new year. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, ya'aleh v'yavo v'yagia v'yira'eh v'yiratzeh v'yishama v'yifaked v'yizacher zichronenu v'fikdonenu. Our God and our God of the generations before us, together. May a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and teaching your awareness. Together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel, may we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of remembrance. Now I'll share a phrase and the response we'll offer is Amen. Zochrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova. Amen. Ufogdenu bo livracha. Amen. V'hoshienu bo l'chaim. Amen. Eternal our God, remember us. Amen. Be mindful of us. Amen. And redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing. Amen. Page 203. We move into our first piece of our Torah, of our shofar service, excuse me. And it is this piece of Malchuyot, this reminder that there's a lot in this world that we don't control, that's in the hands of that eternal King. Awake, you sleepers, from your slumber. Rouse yourselves from your sleep. Awake like Israel at the sea to the joyful song of Miriam and Moses together. Sing to the eternal, for God has surged in triumph. The eternal shall reign forever and ever. Awake like Israel at Sinai to the dignity of being God's partners. You shall be for me a holy nation, a sovereign community of priests. Examine your deeds and return to God. Remember your Creator, you who are caught up in the daily routine, losing sight of eternal truth. You waste your years in vain pursuits that neither profit nor save. Hear the rousing call to repentance. With trumpets and the blasts of shofar, raise a shout before the eternal, the sovereign. Hear and know the truth of a higher power. God is sovereign, robed in majesty. God is clothed with strength, so the world stands firm and cannot be shaken. On page 206, we'll rise together, Hope and Matt.
Amen.
Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shivarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. On page 207, we join together singing Areshet Sifatenu. Areshet Sifatenu, Yerav Lefanecha, El Rav Le'elisa. Areshet Sifatenu, Yerav Lefanecha, El Rav Le'elisa. Egilu Matim, 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 Kol Tiyat Tiyatenu. Egilu Matim, 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 Kol Tiyat Tiyatenu. Tkavel Berachamim, Rachamim Uratzo, Seder, Seder, Malchuyotenu. We'll bring you back later, I promise. You may be seated. On page 209, we turn together, join in Ritzei, a prayer that asks God that our prayers themselves be heard. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, u'tfilatam be'ahavat tikabel b'ratzon, u'tihi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. El karov l'chol korav, pnei el avadecha techonenu. Shpoch ruchacha aleinu, v'techazena einenu b'shuvcha l'tzion v'rachamim. Together. Eternal our God, your people Israel yearns for your favor. Receive their prayer with loving acceptance, and may you always desire your people's worship. Divine One, close to all who call upon you, bring your grace and presence near to those who serve you. Pour forth your Spirit on us. May our eyes see your merciful return to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shechinato v'tzio. Blessed are you, whose divine presence is felt again in Zion. On page 214, we arrive at one of the most beautiful moments, I think, in our morning service. In just a moment, I'm going to invite any Kohen, anyone who has priestly lineage, really, or who themselves is a Kohen, a priest by tradition, to come and help offer the priestly blessing to the congregation. One of the things that one of the ways that we see ourselves and that we enact being in God's image, really, in this world, is that we think of ourselves as having the ability to offer one another blessings. Blessings, including these ancient words of blessing, are not something that we have to get from God's self or that we have to get from a rabbi. No, each one of us can offer another blessing. That act, that power is something that we have within us, that we have to offer each other as individuals, as a community. So if you are a Kohen and you'd like to come and help offer this priestly blessing, these words from the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. Many of you know this is part of our custom here at Kol Ami on these holy days. And you may see our Kohanim offering the priestly, these hands. They're not just from Star Trek. They are, there is a sort of a shin that is made. And that shin stands for Shekhinah, for God's presence. So when we act in this way, blessing one another, we are offering these blessings to the community as agents of God's presence in the world. Page 216. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu baruchenu b'bracha v'shibashem הכתובה בתורה, האמורה מפי כהנים, im kidoshecha ka'amor. Our God, divine presence whose path our ancestors walked, bless us now with words first bestowed on Israel in the time of Moses and Aaron, the threefold blessing given us through Torah that joins our hope with our ancestors. May God bless you and protect you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God lift up God's face to you. May God grant you the gift of peace in your heart, peace in your lives, of wholeness. And together we can all say, Ken yehi ratzon, so may this be God's will. Amen. Thank you, Kohanim. Thank you for offering us this blessing. We continue on page 216. Once again, asking for that gift of peace and wholeness, singing together, Sim Shalom.
Shalom.
now to pray the words of your heart. In just a moment, we'll join together on page 220. Continue on page 223, and it is my pleasure now to invite Jess Winfield, Marilyn Eger, Matt Adler, Stella, and Isaac all to the Bima as we open the Ark for Avinu Malkeinu, page 223. We rise together. Better a shofar than the Torah, that's good.
Please be seated.
Shana Tova. A great sage once said that the truth is a beautiful and terrible thing and should therefore be treated with great caution. Now that sage was not Rabbi Akiva or Rabbi Yochanan, not even the great Rabbi Hillel. No, that sage was in fact the great wizard Albus Dumbledore, who spoke these words to Harry Potter at the end of the Sorcerer's Stone. The truth should be treated with great caution. And for all those who are just at the family service, if you'd like, we can maybe read a little Harry Potter in Hebrew on Tashlich on Saturday if you can join us. And now, while we may not be wizards, and sadly we do not have magic wands to make our world better on this 5,780th birthday of hers, I think these words do offer us a warning as we begin this new year. Because the truth is indeed a beautiful thing, perhaps even something divine. And yet truth is under attack. And so we must take caution. It comes as no surprise to you, I'm sure, that we live in a time where fake news and fake science parade around in masks of truth. We live in a time where people can distort photos and videos to mislead us more easily than ever. Bad actors can even create the appearance of events that did not happen. Faith and opinion get mistaken for fact. Manipulative forces plant uncertainty and doubt in our minds. And in turn, this doubt, this inability for us to conduct rational, fact-based discourse in this society threatens our ability to address the very real problems facing our world. But this morning, as we celebrate the creation of the world, the shofar calls out to us. Take caution. Seek out truth. It cries out with a warning that now is the time to fight for facts and to restore rational discourse as a non-partisan principle in our society. One nonpartisan institute, the Rand Corporation, has been studying this deterioration of truth and facts. In fact, they call it truth decay. And you can't go to the dentist for this one. They define it as the diminishing role of facts and analysis in American public life. And valiantly, Rand is committed to fighting this disease through research and analysis of its causes and impacts. The causes include cognitive bias, our predisposition to believing ideas and stories that we like, regardless of their truthfulness, along with the rise of social media as a primary source of news and the increasing levels of social and political polarization in our society. And in part, truth can be vulnerable to this kind of decay because, well, you know, us human beings are not perfect judges of truth. Our senses can be deceived. Our perceptions and understandings of the truth are often incomplete. Our minds can be manipulated by others, even by ourselves. And scientifically, we learn that this relates to the fact that our brains must constantly interpret so much data, from our basic sensory perceptions to all the signals that help us keep our physical and emotional bodies safe, to judging the truthfulness, the veracity of news, stories, and sources. At every given moment, there's a lot for us to process. We can't always get it right. But truth decay has also impacted us at a societal level. We may have noticed it in fewer and fewer stories you read that challenge your beliefs. In more and more time spent scrolling and scrolling through a news feed that's actually full of clickbait, deception, misleading appearances. More and more time spent reinforcing that social bubble. I imagine there might be other ways you've noticed this in your own lives, and it impacts us, this truth decay, at a global level as well. For decades, scientists have produced evidence that human activity contributes to climate change and global warming. We read stories with increasing frequency about retreating Arctic ice, the acidification of our oceans. We see the devastation from extreme weather events, both abroad and here firsthand in the fires in Southern California, as fire season seems to get longer and drier and hotter every year. The fact of climate change, the truth of this reality, is as well established as any scientific truth can be. NASA puts it this way: the current warming trend is extremely likely, greater than 95% probability, to be the result of human activity since the mid-20th century, and is proceeding at a rate unprecedented over millennia. Satellites that orbit the Earth have enabled scientists to collect many different types of information, and this body of data reveals the signals of a changing climate. My friends, these are not uncertain terms. The data is robust, and it's clear. While this truth may be inconvenient, as Vice President Al Gore warned us 20 years ago, it remains a truth. And still we find large percentages of the general public, and even scarily of some scattered so-called experts, who deny the evidence, who are intent on rejecting truth. According to the California Governor's Office of Planning and Research, climate deniers, so to speak, they succeed in convincing people by, and I'm quoting now, spreading misinformation about the science and casting doubt on well-established findings and conclusions, with the goal to create confusion and uncertainty, thereby preventing meaningful action to remedy the problem. In other words, truth decay sows doubt. It calls facts into question, and it leads us to collective inaction, which, at least in this case of climate change, threatens life on this planet for us and for generations to come. We see another symptom of truth decay in the highest elected office in our land. Even setting aside the most recent developments in Washington, an August article in the Washington Post calculated that President Trump had made more than 12,000 false or misleading statements since taking office. That's more than a dozen every day, on a wide range of topics, from whether or not there's a border wall being built, to the state of our economy, even to the track of a hurricane by NASA meteorologists. And yes, this administration, as you might remember, has become known back in its first months for coining the phrase alternative facts. But to be clear, this strange relationship to the truth did not begin with Mr. Trump. And it is not exclusive to one side of the aisle or the other. In fact, we have nonpartisan organizations, such as PolitiFact, which has been around since 2007, since before President Obama was even elected, with the goal of fact-checking statements made by journalists and politicians alike, on all sides of the political aisle, because we have been struggling with the truth for years. But we, each of us sitting here, have a role to play as well. We can't just leave it to nonpartisan organizations or the media. We must hear the shofar calling us to spiritual and communal action, because to fight the creeping of lies into the realm of facts, we need more than organizations committed to the cause. It's going to take each one of us working together, using our minds and our voices to hold ourselves and our society accountable to truth. Lucky for us, our Jewish tradition has quite a bit to say about truth. We are warned in the book of Exodus to stay far from falsehood, and our 10 commandments demand that we do not bear false witness. The prophet Jeremiah teaches us that God, the Eternal One, is truth. And our sacred poetry of the Psalms remind us that God's teaching, our Torah, is also truth. In fact, the Hebrew word for truth is emet. It's composed of letters that are the first, the middle, and the final letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph, Mem, Taf. Emet. Say it with me. Emet.
Emet.
One way to understand this teaching, then, that it's composed of these first, middle, and last letters, is that there exists nothing, absolutely nothing, that does not fall subject to truth. We may have to seek it out, but our tradition does not mince words. There is such a thing as truth, and we are responsible for seeking it out and honoring it. Our medieval philosophers, such as Saadia Gaon and Moses Maimonides, among others, they understood our minds as the most incredible gift from our Creator. We have brains and senses that can perceive the world around us, that can test out hypotheses and refine our knowledge itself. These philosophers taught us that our ability to engage in science represents a gift from God. And in turn, we are capable of, and we are responsible for, the continuous unfolding of knowledge, of Torah, of truth. In one particular midrash, in one of these beautiful interpretations of Torah and the creation of human beings, we see truth itself personified as an angel, along with compassion, justice, and peace. These angels, you see, are making arguments before the Holy One about whether or not to create human beings. When compassion says, "Create them, for they will do acts of loving kindness." But the angel named Truth replies, "Do not create them. They will be full of lies." And that's when justice chimes in. And justice says, "Create them, for they can do acts of justice." But peace, the angel of Shalom, says, "Do not create them. They'll just bring more strife." So what does God do in this tale? Well, according to the tradition, the Holy One took the angel Truth and threw them, threw Emet, all the way down to the ground, into the earth. Down here with us. And the story then is supposed to remind us, I believe, that truth does not live far away in heaven, but exists here within our grasp, right here on earth, ready to be found by persistent, patient human beings who can dig it up and bring it to light. Sometimes truth remains hidden. Our knowledge is limited. And yes, new information can and should change what we might have thought of previously as truth or fact. Just ask Galileo, whose commitment to truth in the 17th century eventually caused the whole world to recognize that the Earth is not, in fact, the center of our solar system. But those limitations to our knowledge, they should prompt us to keep digging, to keep pursuing truth as best as we can possibly know it. After all, we human beings, we're inheritors of our ancestor Eve, who ate from the fruit of the tree of knowledge and whose eyes opened with that knowledge and with wisdom. She bit from the fruit, she tasted its power, and today we must follow in her footsteps. We too have the capacity to pursue truth, to discern fact from fiction, and to build our world of compassion on a foundation of the truth. So how? How do we do that? How do we bring about a world where, as our psalmist says, that truth will grow from the ground? It starts by working together. We speak out when we hear lies, and we advocate for the place of truth and rational discourse. We build strength in our numbers. We question the world around us, and we use our rational faculties to test and observe and test again. We do not rely on my senses or on yours, which might be misled, but on scientific processes that help us make sense of our world. And this will take strength and courage. It requires that we have the strength to question ourselves and what we know to be true, to question our biases, to burst our bubbles of social media. And it requires that we have the courage to speak out when the facts are clear and the truth is being ignored or undermined. It requires us to cultivate both humility and hubris. Humility in the face of our limitations, and the wisdom to remember that perception and reality don't always quite align. And hubris to declare that there are such things as facts, that our climate is changing, that lies are lies and they don't belong in the public sphere from our politicians, and that we can hold ourselves and our leaders and our media accountable to truth. Upon hearing the news of a person's death, one traditional response in Judaism is to say the blessing Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed is the judge of truth. And I think we say these words in part as a recognition of the ultimate truth, that all life comes to an end. This season brings about that particular truth into stark perspective, especially in our liturgy. And of course, the blessing, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, blessed is the judge of truth, typically refers to God, to the master of all truth. But in this era of truth decay, as we engage in the work of teshuvah, of returning to our truest selves, and aspiring to be like the Holy One, I think, in addition to speaking out and advocating for truth, that we must reclaim this blessing for one another. Blessed is the judge of truth. Blessed are each of you when you seek out and discern what is true. Blessed are each of us when we question our own assumptions and our own biases. Blessed are all who refuse to allow themselves and others to be manipulated by misinformation, doubt, and uncertainty into decisions that harm others and that damage our world. Blessed is the judge of truth. Blessed are you when you report those fake news stories in your social media feeds, when you call out your friends for posting that inflammatory clickbait article that was written 10 months ago, as if it were news. Blessed are we all when we raise our voice like the shofar and call out and hold our society accountable, our politicians, our journalists, on every side of the aisle, demanding that the words they speak are words of truth. Chazak ve'amatz. May we have the strength and the courage to do this in the new year. May the words we speak in this year create a world of truth. May we celebrate all who have that courage and strength to seek it out. May we too have that strength and courage as we fight truth decay together. And may we find ways to restore the path of truth in our lives, our society, and in our world. Shana Tova.
Okay, Tov. Come on, we can do a little bit better than that. Okay, Tov. There you go. Shana Tova. My name is Peter Macklin. I have the honor of being a member of the executive committee here at our congregation. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Congregation Kolami and our clergy, we would like to welcome you to Rosh Hashanah services and wish you a sweet and a happy new year. We especially want to welcome all of you who have joined us for the first time. If you have any questions about Kolami and our great synagogue, see any one of us with a name badge, like this, a board member or greeter or staff, and we will do our best to answer for you. Thank you to our amazing musicians, led by our music director, Nate Widlitz, our greeters, to the members of the Ritual Pillar, and our wonderful temple staff, who have made this new year begin so beautifully and welcoming. Thank you to our members who have sponsored our last night's Oneg, Bima Flowers, and special aspects of our services. We want to thank you as our holiday sponsors. You see their names carrying on and carries tradition. You see their names in the bulletin and above me. Thank you to those who have also sponsored our holiday Bima flowers, those who have sponsored our music and visual tefillah, and thank you to all those who have sponsored our family services as well. And again, you see their names in the bulletin and above me. These holidays are a time of remembrance. If you haven't yet turned in your names to be included in your scroll of remembrance in the Yisker book, please do so no later by the end of services today. And forms are available for you in the foyer. We have several upcoming events. There's so much going on at Kol Ami. For a list of holiday services, adult education programs, etc., please see your bulletin and you know what these look like. Tomorrow, please remember to join us for Rosh Hashanah Day 2 at 10 a.m. for services at our home at Kol Ami, 1200 Northwood Brea. This will be the only service at Kol Ami, and Shabbat Shuvah services Friday night will be led by Rabbi Eger and Rabbi Chaiken at 6:30 p.m., followed by a catered Shabbat dinner at 7:30 p.m. For details about joining us for the dinner, please sign up on the website in the bulletin. Tashlach. Kol Ami is observing Tashlach at Wilbur Rogers State Beach this year. Meet us at Tower 10 on October 6th, starting at 10 a.m. for a morning of family, fun, and relaxation. Feel free, please, to bring a picnic meal and enjoy. We will celebrate with song and maybe even build a sandcastle building contest. Kol Ami is launching a new documentary film series, Docu-Juderent to Me. Okay, that's close enough. There you go. Thank you. No such thing as better preparation, huh? The first one is coming Wednesday, October 23rd, open to the whole community. It will be a great year of great films. See the bulletin for more details about our first film, Rosenwald. Again, let me wish you a very sweet, happy New Year, Shana Tova, and thank you for coming. And I would like to introduce now one of our Open Yard Project Synagogue leaders, Mr. Leonard Slutsky.
Good morning, Shana Tova. My name is Leonard Slutsky. In the back is my boyfriend, Evan Michaels, and we have been members of Congregation Kol Ami for almost a year now. I was asked to speak to all of you about a little bit about how we found Kol Ami, how we got involved, why this community has become so important to us, and what it means to strengthen the next generation of Kol Ami. I grew up in Eastern Connecticut, and throughout my childhood, I was always involved with Jewish life, celebrating holidays with my family, going, practicing and studying for my bar mitzvah, attending Nifty events, and being on Ithaca College's Hillel board. When I moved to LA in 2014, I knew I wanted to find my Jewish community. This was LA after all, and all of my friends at home said that I'd have no trouble finding Jews here in LA. Then I got here, and it was a different story. I had trouble finding my temple, a community that was right for me. Then, as Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur were right around the corner, and I was more than 3,000 miles from home, I was eager to find a place to go for the holidays. So I started to do my research online, and I had a lot of trouble. I learned about the pay-to-pray model, the reality that synagogues charge hundreds of dollars to go to the high holidays, and at the time, I was working an entry-level job at an ad agency, so the reality was I didn't bring home enough money to pay for the tickets. Of course, the $500 tickets could be avoided by becoming a member at the low price of several $1,000s, which I didn't have at the time either. So let's be honest. I imagine most congregations wouldn't actually turn me away for not being able to pay, but they certainly didn't make the ask easy. As a matter of fact, Evan and I actually did go to a synagogue and asked if we could go, and we felt a little bit like outsiders, like we were unwelcome. And besides the money issue, we were worried about how we might fit into the congregation as a younger gay couple. It was around that time that Rabbi Max reached out to us and introduced us to Kol Ami. He let us know about the special high holiday ticket program for people under 30, Pay What You Can, a program that's publicly advertised on the website. Plus, he said, Congregation Kol Ami had just created the Open Yad Project, a group of Jewish, Jewish, and Jew-curious people in their 20s and 30s who live here in LA. This included people who may have grown up Jewish and may have lost their connection once they entered the real world, like me. And the icing on the cake was that Kol Ami was one of those leading congregations for the LGBTQ community and their allies. It was then that Evan and I realized that this was a place that we would not only be welcomed, but that we could be affirmed and be empowered to be who we are. Evan and I quickly got involved with the congregation and the Open Yad Project, Evan taking the lead on social media and marketing, and me assisting with some of the event planning. Since launching the Open Yad Project in July of last year, we have hosted more than 24 free or low-cost events, including our monthly Havdalahs. Some of my favorite Havdalahs include a Regala baking competition, a Spice Box blending workshop that featured a Spice Girls playlist, and a hilariously fun scavenger hunt here in West Hollywood's Palmer Park. We also hosted several hike vrutas at local parks around town, and a Women in the Bible Torah and brunch series at the farmers market at the Grove. These programs not only allowed us to have a community that was growing, but afforded us a space to reaffirm our Jewish roots. Why are these Havdalahs, hikes, and other events so important? Many of us could agree that making friends in a big city like LA can be tough. You know, Evan and I, when we go to Open Yad events, we know that we'll be surrounded by people we can connect with, people who we can be ourselves with, and without fearing any judgment. These kind of places are sacred, and that is what Open Yad Project means to us. So after taking a leadership role in the Open Yad Project, Rabbi Max nominated me for the Union for Reform Judaism's Juvenation Fellowship. The Union for Reform Judaism, or URJ for short, is the national movement of Reform Jews, a movement that our congregation is a part of. This fellowship was a year-long program designed for Jews who are part of marginalized groups to grow as community leaders. I was specifically part of our LGBTQ cohort, and with 12 other people from across the country, we participated in diversity, equity, and inclusion training, received mentorship from Reformed Jewish leaders from across the country, and built relationships within our cohort. As a fellowship, we're working to help make sure that all of the URJ's more than 800 member congregations, summer camps, youth programs, and more are places that LGBTQ families and their allies can belong and thrive. I'm so grateful that Congregation Kol Ami afforded me this opportunity to represent our community in this fellowship and help support the union's audacious hospitality initiatives throughout the country. I'm looking forward to bringing back some of the best practices that I've learned back to our community here in West Hollywood. There are a lot of moving pieces that led me to standing up here today. I am here in part because of the incredible clergy you see up here today, the generous under 30 high holiday ticket subsidy program that many of you contribute to, and the Open Yad Project community. The truth is that these things cost money to operate, and as you consider giving to Kol Ami these high holidays, know that you're investing in the next generation of community leaders. Some people might argue that people in my generation don't want to join a synagogue. The myth, this is actually a myth. So many of us are deeply craving a sense of community and a Jewish home base. The thing is that they just can't find their temple like I did, and they couldn't find a place that was right for them. In our digital culture today, we are increasingly seeking spaces where we can authentically connect with others in real life and be ourselves. Kol Ami can and is one of those places. Several Open Yad participants have joined Kol Ami as members, including Evan as myself, and even those that haven't joined are still part of our important and thriving community. I'm asking you to support Congregation Kol Ami with a high holiday pledge. Help us to continue doing this important community building work. In the booklet you received today, there is an envelope. If you already lost it like me, you can raise your hand and one of the ushers will bring them to you. Does anyone have I have a spare one right here, great. If you don't have one, again, raise your hand. Everyone have one? We're all good? Okay, awesome. What we can do is we can fill it out together. And when you're done, go ahead and add another 0 to the end, seal it, and bring it to one of the friendly ushers in the aisle. Thank you for helping to support our community and our work with the Open Yad Project. I want you to know that when you're giving with your hard-earned money, we are very thrifty with our budget, and we try to maximize every dollar that we have budgeted towards our programming. For those of you who have been around Call Me for a while, I encourage you to think about what this community means to you. And then think about giving just a little bit more, and a little more, and just a little more. And when you give today, know that you're supporting people like Evan and myself and the people who are helping to build the future of our community, Call Me. Maybe just a little more. A hot topic from our Juvenation Fellowship is the future of synagogues. What will synagogues look like in 5, 10, 15 years as people in Gen Y and Gen Z grow up? Some people might argue that synagogues won't be able to survive given declining membership and rising costs. Innovative communities like Congregation Call Me are trying new things and taking risks with programs like the Open Yad Project. The investment is already paying off. We've engaged more than 50 people in the past 18 months, and know that there are people seeking these Jewish spaces, and we desperately need your help to continue our outreach and continue doing our work in the coming year. Once again, please show us that you're behind this engagement work. You are helping to shape the legacy of Congregation Call Me. And many of you do support the congregation in the Open Yad Project, so I'd like to thank all of you for all of the work you do throughout the year, especially those who've helped the Open Yad Project with your generous time, space, and referring people to the program. And I also want to take a moment to thank all of you, because I am here in part because of your support. And without your leadership, I would not have been able to make the friends that I have and be part of such a special community like this one. For those of you who are interested in learning more about the Open Yad Project, you can find Evan, Rabbi Chaiken, or myself after the service. You can find me by the snack table. Thank you again.
Thank you, Leonard, for your leadership of our Open Yad Project and of our, as a Juvenation Fellow. It was the first time our URJ had this special program, and we also have another connection to Juvenation because Cantor Linsky's child, Elias, also was part of the Juvenation Fellowship. So we were very well represented there between both of them. Our service continues now with our tour service. And so at this time, I'd like to call to the pulpit, to the Bima, Open Yad leaders, Duke Marine, Jake Perlman, Anthea Pingera, Gabby Potter, Rebecca Shores. If you would come up here to the Bima. Ari, are you there? Come on up, too. We have a tour for you, too. Come on. And to the front row, Dennis Shore, Natalie Bernstein, Naomi Bernstein, Steve Cohen, Edward Lukowski, Joe Perry, Hope Klaus, Matt Epstein, Richard Wortman, Noah Samuels, Neil Romanoff, Glenn Melnick, Yalka Hughes, Alan Weisgarten, the Boone family, Todd and Jerry and family, Don Klein, and Sarah Richmond and Julie Lopez and family. Hi, you're going to stand right there. Go over to Rabbi Chaiken. And we're going to invite you all now to turn in your Moxors to page 228 as the ark is open.
Amen.
It's always a privilege to hear our Torah chanted, and we're particularly excited this year, in addition to Dennis, who has chanted Torah here for many years. 3 of this year's B'nai Mitzvah, who this past year celebrated their bar and bat mitzvah, will also be chanting Torah for us as they step into their adult leadership of our congregation. So we're very proud of them. You can follow along in your Machzor on page 230 is the blessing, and 238 begins our Torah reading, which this morning comes, the first day reading is Genesis 21. It's the story of Abraham and Sarah and the surrogate mother Hagar. And of course, Sarah could not have children for many years. In their frustration about the infertility, Abraham and Sarah go to Hagar, and she bears a child for them, Ishmael. And this, it's a very painful story of family dynamics, a painful story of jealousy, a painful story of heartbreak. And more importantly, when Abraham, at Sarah's urging, tells Hagar and Ishmael to leave when she has born her own child, Isaac, God answers the prayers of Hagar and Ishmael in the wilderness. Though they may in some ways feel abandoned by Abraham, who didn't stand up to Sarah to say, Ishmael is also my child, God hears the weeping and the crying of Hagar and Ishmael, and they are brought back and given water. So this is a story, a difficult story, a story about parenting, a story about who's in your family, a story about God answering prayers. And so at this time, I'd like to invite forward as our first Torah reader, Natalie Bernstein is going to read first as from Torah, and we call Carrie Davidson to the Torah. Ya'amod Avram Shalom ben Moshe Uvivi, Aliyah Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Va'adonai pakadet Sarah kasher amar vayas Adonai l'Sarah kasher diber v'tahar v'teled Sarah l'Avraham ben litzkunav lemoed asher diber oto Elohim. Vayikra Avraham et Shem beno hanolad lo asher yalda lo Sarah Yitzchak. Vayamol Avraham et Yitzchak beno ben shmonat yamim kasher tziva oto Elohim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'torah.
We take a moment as the Torah scroll is out to think of those in our world, our community, our circle of family and friends who need healing at this season. It's traditional to make a mishaberach over the Torah. We say, Eloheinu v'Elokei avotenu v'imotenu, God, a God of our ancestors, grant your healing blessings to Adelaide O'Warnes, Gloria Vassels, Gary Barnes, Roger Berman, Leslie Blue, Richard Bernard, Vivian Bernard, Elaine Blatt, Dan Bennell, Bella Browning, Claire Cohen, Tammy Eliana, Elisa Coyle, Dale Cooley, Ashley Gallagher, Shirley Glantz, Lori Glickman, Daniel Gruber, Kathy Gutman, Allison Knopp, Maury Cricken, Lynn Ehrlich McCauley, Larry Mendelson, Fred Michaels, Alan Miller, Peter Mackler, Adela Palmer, Ron Palmieri, Carolyn Reback, Esther Rosenblum, Robert Wright, Dane Samuels, David Slobodian, Michael Simmental, Henry Sommerfeld, Tiffany Sturger, Blake Rosenblum, Swensrud, Terry Taylor, Kathy Weiss, Ruth Williams, and all those that you would like to include in this prayer of healing if you would say their name aloud. Shema Kolenu, hear our prayer. Grant refuat nefesh or fuat guf, the healing of spirit and body, and teach us to be your messengers of love and kindness and blessing. Baruch atah Adonai rofei cholim. Praised are you, God, who heals the sick. And let us say, Amen. Our second Torah reader today is Naomi Bernstein, if Naomi would join us here. And our second Aliyah is Richard Wortman and his cousin, Yaakov Ber Ya'amdu, Yaakov Ber Ben Yisrael Moshe Ve'eda Pasha, and Noah Samuel, Noah Ben Moshe Ve'Chana Aliyah L'Torah.
Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Baruch Banu Mikol Hamim V'nasam Lanu Es Torso. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosei HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Ve'Avraham b'me'ah shana, v'yivaled lo et Yitzhak v'no. V'atomer Sarah zehov asa li Elohim kol shameach Yitzhak li. V'atomer mimi lel Avraham ki mika ve'anim Sarah ki yodati b'mizkunav. Vayigdal ha'yeled vayigamal asa Avraham Yisheach Gadol Vayom higamel et Yitzhak.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Nasam Lanu Torah Semes V'chayei Olam Notah B'Socheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosei HaTorah.
Our next Torah reader is Dennis Shore. And we're excited to invite, in honor of their incredible volunteerism that they did this year, Glenn Melnick and Neil Romanoff really saw through the re-roofing of our building, which was so needed, and they did an amazing job. And we're so grateful for your leadership and volunteerism. Ya'amod Nisan ben Rivka Hershel v'Gadalia ben Nia Aliyah L'Torah. Come on close over here. Come over here. Take your toe, Glenn. This will show you how to do it.
Baruch atah Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher b'chamonu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torah. Atah Adonai Nosei HaTorah.
Amen. Vatera Sarah et ben Hagar HaMitzri Asher Yodal Abraham ben Sachech Vatomer l'Abraham Garesh HaMahazot ve'et bena Ki lo yirash ben HaMahazot im beni im Yitzhak Yitzchak. Vayera hadavar me'od b'nei Avraham al odot beno. Vayomer Elohim el Avraham al yera beinecha al hanahar ve'al amatecha kol asher tomar elecha Sara shema bekola ki ve'yitzchak yikarei lecha Zara. Vegam et ben Hama legoy asimenu ki zarachahu.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam atah b'beinu. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Torah.
Our next Torah reader is Steve Cohen. His bar mitzvah was almost a year ago. And to Aliyah LeTorah, Ya'amdu, Yafa Ruach ben Avraham V'Sera, Avraham Shaul, Yafa and Alan. You'll join us here.
Baruch et Adonai HaBarak. Baruch Adonai HaBarak le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amin, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Vayashkev Avraham Baboker Vayikach Lechem Vechemat Mayim Vayitein El Hagar Sa Al Shukma Ve'et HaYeled Vayishochecha Vatelech Vateta b'midbar be'er shava vayichlu hamayim min ha'chemet vatashlech et hayeled tachat achad hasifin vatelech vateshev la mineged harchek Kim tachaveh keshet ki amra al erev b'mot hayaled vateshev mineged vatisa et kola vatev vayishma Elohim et kol hanar vayikra mala Elohim El Hagar min hashamayim vayomer la mala Hagar al tir'i ki shema Elohim el kol hanar va'asher hu sham.
Dennis comes back as our Torah reader, And it's my privilege to call the Bloom family to the Torah. Ya'amdu Hamishpachat Bloom. Hi, Jerry. Here you can touch. And this is showing you what it.
Baruch et Adonai
Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen. Kumi sei et hanar, v'hachaziki et yadek bo, ki legoy gadol asimenu, v'yifkach Elohim et eineha, v'tereh be'er mayim, v'telech, v'temalei et hachem et mayim, v'tash et hanar, v'yehi Elohim et hanar v'yigdal, v'yeshev b'midbar, v'yehi roveh kashat, v'yeshev b'midbar paran, v'tichach lo imo isha me'eretz Mitzrayim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tokeinu. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah. Amen. We raise the Torah. We thank our Torah readers and Torah blessers. We wish them a year of health and strength. Ya'amod, Magbiya V'Golel, Leonard and Evan, if you join us here. You'll turn in your prayer books and your machzorim to page 246. Rise as the Torah rises.
We now call to lead us in our Haftarah, Edwin Bukowski, one of our teens who was bar mitzvah a couple years ago. Page 247, he'll lead us in the blessing, and then he'll read for us English, our Haftarah. Read English can be found on page 250, 247 for the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hashem, Hanemarim Be'emet, Baruch Atah Adonai, Haboher B'Torah, U'Moshe Avdo, U'Yisrael Amo, U'Vimviei Ha'emet V'Tzedek.
Well, despite what you all think I can do.
Okay. And there was a man from Ramatayim Tophim, from the hills of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, son of Yerham, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Suf, and Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives, one named Hannah and the other named Peninnah. Peninnah had children, and Hannah had no children. And this man would go up from his town every year to worship at Shiloh and make offerings to the Eternal of heaven's hosts. And there Eli's 2 sons, Hophni and Pinchas, were priests of the Eternal. And on the day when Elkanah would make offerings, he would give portions to his wife Peninnah and to each of her sons and daughters. And to Hannah he would give a special portion because he loved Hannah, and the Eternal had closed her womb. And her rival wife would taunt her cruelly to make her tremble with grief, for the Eternal had closed her womb. And so it was year after year. When she would go up to the house of the Eternal, she taunted her, and she would cry and not eat. And Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you cry, and why do you not eat? And why are you disheartened? Am I not worth more to you than 10 sons? And Hannah arose after the eating and drinking at Shiloh, while Eli the priest sat upon the throne near the doorpost of the temple of the Eternal. And she, bitter to the core, prayed to the Eternal, weeping and crying. And she vowed and said, Eternal of heaven's hosts, if you will truly see your servant's affliction and remember me, and not forget your servant, and give your servant a son, I'll give him to the Eternal all the days of his life, and no razor shall be lifted to his head. And as her praying before the Eternal intensified, Eli watched her mouth, and Hannah, she was speaking only in her heart. Though her lips were moving, her voice could not be heard. So Eli thought she was drunk. And Eli said to her, how long will you persist in drunkenness? Put away your wine, get rid of it. And Hannah answered and said, no, my lord, a woman of sorrow am I. I drank neither wine nor spirit, but poured out my soul before the Eternal. Do not take your servant for a worthless woman. All this time I have spoken from the depth of my anger, from the greatness of my grievance. Then Eli answered and said, go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant the request you have made. And she said, may your servant find grace in your sight. And the woman went on her way. And she ate, and her face was no longer as it had been. And they awoke early in the morning and worshipped before the Eternal. And they went home, returning to Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, and the Eternal remembered her. And so it was that at the turn of the year, Hannah conceived and then gave birth to a son. and she called him Samuel, because I request him from the Eternal.
Page 259.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol ha'olamim tzadik b'chol hadarot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh ha'medaber u'mekayem shekol davarav emet v'tzedek al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al hanvi'im ve'al yom hazikaron hazeh Shenatah lanu Adonai Eloheinu lechavod u'tifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umevarhim otah yitbarach shimha befi kol haytamid le'olam va'ed udvarha emet v'kayam lad Baruch atah Adonai melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron.
Amen. We turn now to the prayers for our congregation and our country and for Israel. And the prayer for our congregation we're going to be prayed by Joe Perry. Do you have it? Yeah.
I'd like to offer a prayer for our wonderful congregation, Kolami, which I've been a member of for 25 years, which is one of my great decisions in life. Source of all being, may all who join with this community learn these passions from us. Love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May all who lead this community guide us with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May all who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we always appreciate their time and their devotion. As we enter this new year, bless this holy congregation with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, sweetness and renewal, fulfillment, joy, and peace. Amen.
Amen. Dawn Klein, are you here? Okay, together we'll read this prayer. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation merit your protection in this new year. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing generously with those in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who died in the defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern as you do, balancing justice and compassion in this new year, and always help us to appreciate one another, to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. And we're delighted to invite Jean Rogalski, who celebrated a special 90th birthday this year. Jean is going to read our prayer for Israel.
Avinu, you who are high above all nations, states, and peoples, Rock of Israel, the one who has saved us and preserved us in life. Bless the state of Israel, first flowering of our redemption. Be her loving shield, a shelter of lasting peace. Guide her leaders and advisors by your light of truth. Instruct them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who build and preserve our holy land. Deliver them from danger. Crown their efforts with success. Grant peace to the land, lasting joy to all of her people. And together we say,
Amen. As we return the Torah to the Ark, invite Sarah Richmond and family forward to the Bima to open our Ark. And we'll invite you all to page 277. And Matt and Hope, if you also join us, and Evan and Leonard, as the Torah rises, please rise. Come forward to the Bima. You all can return to your seats. Yep. Well done. We return to those sounds of the shofar, page 284. As I said, there were 3 sections, Melchiot and Zikronot, and we blow again the sounds of the shofar. If you'll say and remain standing and say the bracha with me. Baruch atah Adonai, shomei kol teruah amo Yisrael, berachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, the true voice of your people, Israel. Tekiah, Shavarim Truah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shavarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah Gedolah. Moments of our Rosh Hashanah service, page 286. We remain standing as once again the ark is open. We pray that our prayers ascend to heaven through the holy ark, through the Aron HaKodesh, and up to the heavens on high.
Shalom.
this Rosh Hashanah morning, we're observing the Yortzites of Abraham Lelyveld, grandfather of Philip Lelyveld, Phil Fivish, father of Sam Fivish, Donald Workman, father of Doug Workman, Isaac Cinnamon, Uncle Verwin Alexander, Harry Kaplowitz, cousin of Karen Seitman, Emma Pearl Allen, mother of Carolyn Dry, Alice Stern, aunt of Reva Solomon, Ruth Friedman, great aunt of Daniel Blatt, Marjorie Cogan, mother of Bart Cogan, Winifred Beard, mother of Leslie Beard, Nathan Alkins, grandfather of Kim Bergman, and Eli Katz, father of Joe Katz. We're reciting Kaddish this year for Arlene Zworen, Stanley Milstein, Tom Guy Royer, Martin Ross, Jack Levin, Sidney Levin, Al Leviton, Jules Selvin, Binyahu Habibi, Daniel J. Kaplan, Reverend Lloyd John Ogilvie, Max Sains, Rose Dodson, Rose Green, Andy Wolf, Jeanette Kaufman, Charlotte Karen, Claire Finkel, Gilbert Weinbar, and Sarah Rivka Seltzer. There are others that you would like to remember at this season for our Kaddish prayer, if you would say their name aloud.
Mary Sandy and Michael Litzman.
Their memories are with us as we enter this new year. We hold their memories as a blessing, and we recite Kaddish for all those who have no one left to say Kaddish for them. Page 292, we join together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad yirach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei v'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agdalav v'yisman harim v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'barach le'olam v'lomei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei v'kedusha b'richu. Le'ela v'le'ela minkol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlomo Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'yimruma, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. May the one who teaches us peace in the heavens above help us to make peace here on earth with one another and grant eternal peace to those who died. And together we say, Amen. Our closing hymn today is on page 298, Adon Olam. I want to take a moment to thank again our musicians, particularly to Cantor Linsky and to Rabbi Chaiken, as well to all of the lay leaders who work so hard, our ritual pillar under Peter Mackler's leadership, and those of you that helped transport the Torah scrolls and set the Bema, Maryland, and to particularly to our hardworking and underpaid office staff, Susanna Peters, who's been with us for many years, our new executive assistant, Dave Rubenstein, I hope you've said hi to him and made him feel at home, and to our executive director, Mark Gay, without whom we would be nowhere. To all those who ushered and greeted today, we thank you for your leadership and for your welcoming presence. And we look forward to continuing to celebrate the holy days and for all the rest of the holy days tomorrow at 10 at Kolami, Shabbat Shuvah at 6:30, and then a Shabbat dinner on Friday night, Tashlich Saturday morning at 10 in Santa Monica at the beach, and then again Yom Kippur right back here on October 8th. We are grateful for you and grateful for your connection and for your support of Kolami and the Jewish people. Page 298, Adon Olam.
Amen.
reconciliation, lives of health and happiness, lives filled with abundance, and may we have the seichel, the wisdom to recognize it when it is right in front of our faith. Let us be truth tellers. Let us be justice seekers. Let us be lovers. And let us be gentle and kind, even as we are strong. And we say, Baruch atah b'voecha, Baruch atah b'tzeitecha. You are blessed in coming here. Be blessed as you go forth into the new year with happiness and shalom. Shana tova.